In today's video, I want to go through how I made this water pump planter. I had this old water pump sitting around, and I saw this cool kind of bourbon barrel at Home Depot. I figured, why not? Let's put the two together and make something cool and turn it into a planter. But there is something a little extra special about it. It's this guy. And this guy. You guessed it. It's solar lights. My wife tells me I put solar lights on everything. It's not true. It's true. Now, this old water pump already had a concrete base on it, which made it sit higher up in the planter than I would like. Since my acrylic pipe was only 12 inches long, and I wanted the lights to look like they went under the dirt, I needed to trim down the pipe to height. With a cut-off wheel on my angle grinder, I made quick work of the old pipe. To get the well pump to sit at the correct height, I rigged up a little jig. Rigged a jig. Anyhow, I rigged up a jig for the well pump to sit on so that it stood at the correct height. With an old bucket, a bag of post concrete, and a giant mess later, we had a well pump that could stand by itself at the right height. If you're wondering, don't pour concrete on top of your concrete driveway. It's a bad idea. So while that's curing, let's go focus on building the light assembly. This 12-inch acrylic pipe will serve as the housing for the lights, a 90-degree PVC elbow, a bushing to reduce down to 3/4-inch PVC, these two 1/2-inch to 1/4-inch trap adapters, and 3/4-inch PVC pipe. The assembly of this is quite simple, and most of it can be found in the plumbing aisle. The acrylic pipe was not a Schedule 40 pipe, so it did not fit into any nominal PVC fitting. However, by trimming the ridges off the trap adapter compression fitting, I was able to make something that fit perfectly inside the pipe. So this will be the final setup for the housing for the light. It's pretty simple. I wanted the light to have sort of a frosted effect, so I put a couple coats of Rust-Oleum's frosted glass spray paint on the acrylic tube. Frosty. While the acrylic tube was drying, I took the time to assemble my PVC housing. Even though you won't see these parts, I still wanted to paint them, because black looks cool, right? After spending way too long looking at that acrylic pipe, I decided I wasn't very happy with how the spray paint looked. So instead, I grabbed some steel wool and just went to town on it, and it actually came out with a better frosted effect than I could have asked for. Frankly, I should have just did that from the start. Now it was time for assembly. The solar lights would wrap around this 7/8 rubber hose that I had sitting around that happened to fit perfectly inside the trap adapters. I had some leftover frosted spray paint, so I put a coat on the solar lights to help diffuse the light just a little more. With everything wired and fixed in place, it was time to assemble this for good. With a fat bead of hot glue, followed up by some clear silicone, I glued each piece together to create a weather-tight seal to help keep water out of the housing. Now, if this seems like a lot of work for simple solar lights, you're right. But this is going to sit outside all year, in the rain, in the snow, and I just don't want the solar lights to get ruined by the weather. So I'm happy to do a little extra work so this lasts as long as possible. With it all glued up, let's go put this in the dirt. With the concrete dry, the well's at the right height, so it's time to put some dirt in it. The first step is to drill a hole in the side of the barrel. This gives me somewhere to feed the conduit so the wire can connect up to the solar panel. Like all good projects, there was a bit of an oversight. I wasn't expecting this metal ring to be in the way, so I grabbed the angle grinder again and cleaned up the sharp, nasty edges. I temporarily set the light housing in place to get everything in alignment and make sure I was happy with everything before I fixed it in place for good. Perfect. Once again, I'm using hot glue and silicone to seal this up. I don't want this to be a permanent connection just in case I have to open this up and fix it. Also, this well pump is usable, so in the future if I ever decided I needed a well pump somewhere, I've got one in my front yard. Now that everything is glued and fixed in place, I can reconnect the wiring for the solar lights. quick little bit of solder, some shrinky dinks, burning myself ever so gently, and some black electrical tape to wrap it all up. Now we could glue the solar panel in place. So here's the assembly, as waterproof as we can get it. It goes down from the spigot, down into the dirt, takes a 90 degree, and then out to the outside of the barrel where the solar light connects up. All that's left is to put some flowers in it and cover it with dirt. It's September right now, so the only flowers really left to plant are mums. So mums we'll use. I've found with 2 children under 3, I don't get a lot of time to do yard work. So, when I do work on things, I try to take them in small bites. This garden's about 30 feet long, but I've only really cleared about 5 feet of it. But it's a start. A layer of weed fabric and a whole bunch of wood chips later, we're just about ready to turn this thing on. Oh, you're still here. I bet you're wondering about that grass that I was growing. It did okay. We'll see how it does in the spring.